He's introducing us. Oh, hey, I think we're on. Let me start my timer. Hello, and welcome. Let me get my thing situated. Welcome to Intro to Performance Lighting. Thank you guys for being here. And thank you to Scott for the last class and to all of the presenters today that took time out of their day. What a great experience. And happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. My name is Tyler Green, and I am a dad. This is my son, whose name is also Tyler. Say hi.
Yo, what up?
I'm also a stage lighting designer, as well as being on the board of Dance Music Initiative. Great. So Tyler is going to help us on our journey today through learning about the various aspects of concert or performance stage lighting. Let's jump right in. So whether a event is streamed or you see it live in person, one thing you can notice is if the sound is bad. If you can't hear what's going on stage or what the presenter is trying to communicate, then it's considered bad. Well, lighting is the same way because lighting is a tool to communicate visually. If you can't see what's going on stage or what the presenter is trying to communicate, then you can end up confused. And being confused leads to being scared. So we don't want that. We're going to look at some examples of bad lighting right now together. This first one is one that I just Googled, horrible lighting. This is the first image that came up. Ooh. As you can see, you can barely even tell that it's a picture of a face, and when you do, it's quite frightening. What do you think is wrong with this picture, T?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say it's way too dark. It looks like the Grim Reaper's skull just disappeared and that face just showed up out of nowhere in his robe. That's how I would describe it. It's too dark. It's going to give me nightmares.
It's going to give him nightmares, ladies and gentlemen. So that's not what we want from a picture, especially a selfie. You're not going to get any friend requests that way. Excuse me, what this picture is missing is some kind of front light or face light. It's not that hard to do. You can't see, but off camera we just have a little hardware store clip light with a LED bulb in it. I think you're going to end up spending less than $10 per setup. There's two of them here. All this other stuff, if we turn off our front lights, we're going to look just like the picture, look like a dark cave. So the front lighting, the face lighting is important. We're going to get into this a little bit more. Okay, let's go to the next one and see what we've got here on our next example. And this one I Googled bad lighting, and this is the #1 Google result for bad lighting. You can also see there's some kind of shadowy figure. This is also off of I think a church's website, so that's not going to way they're going to attract people either. It's scary. We don't want to scare people. You can kind of see like in this area, there's kind of a lady in there, but it's all through the fog and the effects. So we're missing the subject. The effects and everything are great, but we're missing whatever she's trying to do, and she's on stage, and she's what we're trying to, or what we're usually, whoever's on stage is what we're trying to support. We're trying to be part of a performance, unless it's just a light show. All right, and let's look at this next slide, which is kind of a good lighting versus this one down here. Thank you very much. So you can tell, like, that's a good example. On the one on this here is filled in, and you can actually see smiling. It's the same dude, but with different lighting. He looks like he's kind of angry there, and that it's not just his facial expression, it's that you can't really see his facial expression. Here you can see, what's going on because of the lighting. So those are some examples of good lighting, and this goes for concerts, for streams, for live performances, everything, selfies. Good lighting is a vital part of clear communication for any live event. Lighting is also a huge part of our day-to-day lives. The sun gives us life, and we live according to this light. because of this, our eyes have evolved to use natural sunlight, and we mimic this indoors with artificial lighting in our homes and workplaces. Um, let's take a look at this next picture, which is a picture of Brian Chang and I outdoors at one of our events. Okay, cool. Now, the reasons why I say this picture has good lighting is because you can see what's going on. You can see the subjects, but there's other things going on here that contribute to the good lighting. We're going to look at those things. We can see the first thing is that the sun is the obvious source of illumination. We're outside at an outdoor music event. The light, if you look at the tops of our heads, the top of my hat and shoulders is spilling across. And the cool thing that's happening, it's not just hitting us, it's hitting everything around us and bouncing off the sand, and it's bouncing off the shade structure up here and off the stage and other elements, and it's creating this nice soft fill light that's filling in all the shadows behind us. Having the brightest light, though, behind us really helps us stand out from the background, because it's a very bright background, and if the sun was facing us, then we would kind of look a little more washed out, and we wouldn't pop out from the background. And the other thing here is that the light's not colored, it's just regular natural light. With the advent of LED lighting, many more colors are now available to the user, and our eyes can see many colors. Cameras aren't quite as dynamic as the human eye, not yet anyway. This is something to consider when you're designing the lighting for your event. Regular sunlight is considered 5600 Kelvin. In the Kelvin, that's a unit of rating for a color temperature, and that just means how much red versus blue is in the light. The higher the color temperature, the more blue, and the lower end of the range in the 2000s, 3000 has a red tint. We're going to look at that a little bit more later, but that's how we measure the whiteness in the light. And so right now we're at a very bright white scene, and the camera is adjusted to that setting. Your eyes automatically adjust, most cameras do too, but when your stuff looks a little bit off, that's why. If you take, an interesting experiment would be if you take your camera phone and you turn off the automatic color balance or white balance, and move from indoors to outdoors, or vice versa, you'll notice that it looks blue or red compared to where you were before. There'll be a shift, something that you can try all by yourself at home. Okay, so we're going to do a little experiment now, and we're going to put little T up on our little stage here, and we're going to try to recreate the light in the studio here, because right now it's pretty basic lighting, but we're going to try to make little T kind of more like the picture and explain how you guys can do this at home with whatever kind of lights that you have. We've got some less fancy lights, some more fancy lights, but the fanciness level of your lights really doesn't matter. The important thing is that they're the same color, and that your eye or the camera's adjusted to it so you can see what's going on. Okay, so let's get started. And I also want to point out before we go any further that I know you guys have heard a lot, if you've watched today, a lot of new phrases and terminology. Well, we're going to give you some more phrases and terminology right now. Every one of these individual lights we call fixtures or an instrument. Just like in music, we have lighting instruments instead of sound instruments. But we use our individual instruments as a whole, and then we'll have a controller that will control the instruments. Okay, so we're going to use some lights. I'm going to turn everything off right here, and we're going to start with the backlight, which is the bright light in the picture. Ty, can you stand on the stage just a little bit more? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so now look, we've got this light. We don't need it to be super bright. We need it to be right in there. And now you can see the same angle that you see on Brian and I is now being artificially recreated in the studio on little T. And it makes him pop out. Look, we just have, there's regular lighting just from the front. There's no backlight because I turned all the backlights off. Now I'm going to fade in the backlight that's mimicking the sun. Boom. See, pops out. Looks so cool, right? I know you guys love it. Okay. Now we're going to bring up some other backlights that are going to act as fill. And you can see, wow, look at that. Now he's really coming out and he looks like he's almost outside. Okay? But he's still giving us kind of a little bit of a Grim Reaper look on his little face. So we're going to fade up some other front lights now. We don't need too much, but just a little is going to help. This LED, so the color's a little bit off, but now you can see. Now he looks like he's kind of outside on a sunny day. All right, so let's try taking them away one at a time. Let's take out our backlight, and let's see what happens. You know, it still looks okay, but it doesn't have that 3D. It almost looks like he could be kind of a cardboard cutout, you know, if he stands really still. But now we bring it back in, and now you can see the definition. So the different angles add the definition. And you're noticing one thing. In here, normally when you might not see where the lights are coming from, but here you can see, because we're really wide, that it's coming from back, up, and behind. Little T there. Okay? And that's, again, we're mimicking a thing in nature, the sun. A lot of art is just kind of recreating what we already see in nature. Lighting is no exception. So we have light coming from behind, illuminating little T, and it's not coming from below. It's not coming from straight down. It's coming from a nice kind of midday or mid-morning angle, just about the time when we took that picture. All right? So, fill light. Let's take the fill light away now and see what happens. Okay, now look, you notice the shadows got a lot harsher. And if I took the time to go around and turn off the little clip lights, it would be exacerbated even more. Front light's a little hot. Yeah. So now we've just got the backlight. You know, see that? Oh, there you go. When you set up, it looks even better. There you go. And let's add the fill back in. Wow, look, and it's nice and it softens it up. You know. Yeah. So whether you're doing a class like this, or a stream, or you're doing Twitch, and you've just got a little frame, people are going to know. They're not going to be like, "Oh, you had great lighting," but they're going to want to watch longer. They might not notice unless they're a lighting expert, but it can be jarring to have. You might be communicating the wrong thing, and my goal here is to give you guys some new tools to use and some new things to think about. Yeah, thank you very much, little Tyler. A round of applause, golf clap for little T.
Dude, I was just sitting there.
You may have just sitting there, but you did great. Okay, Tyler, could you throw up a logo or something while I catch up on our notes? And if you guys have questions, I do have a little window open over here, and I can check questions periodically. And I may or may not choose to answer them. Okay, so we did the sunlight. We talked about doing it in the studio. Now we're going to talk about camera versus live. I already touched on this a little bit, but I want to kind of go in a little more in depth. By the way, I'm going to try to go through the programmed part of my class as quickly as possible, so we can have some fun with working with music and cueing and color and that kind of thing. Okay, so camera versus live. I talked earlier that the human eye can see way better than most cameras. Changes that can be seen by the eye might not even register with the camera at all. Colors can look different, and you can be limited by the light coming into the lens, which usually has a much narrower field of view than the eye. So like I can look around and see everything in here. You guys can't do that. You guys don't even know what's back there. It could be anything, right? And also you're limited to the field of view that goes somewhere from over here to over there. You know, you're not seeing what's beyond that, and your eyes naturally see more. You may only see detail in one part, but the periphery is very cool when you're outside and you go to a show. You get to see everything that's going on. When you're doing it for a camera, you're very limited to what's right in front of you. So that being said, it's also a very rare occasion when your show isn't being recorded, and so you need to really think about as a performer looking good on stage and looking good on camera, because it's going to be recorded, and a lot of times you have more views after the fact, and so you want to have a good recording, you want to have a good stream, and having good lighting is very important. If your camera isn't adjusted, then the good lighting that you have will mean nothing, though. Your camera needs to be adjusted right in order for things to work. So I'm going to ask a little T to throw up like some kind of visuals, just whatever you want. And I'm going to mess with the camera a little bit over here, and hopefully it doesn't crash OBS. And we're going to look at some of the different settings. Okay, so when I start setting my camera up, I'll put on a neutral scene or something that I know what it's supposed to look like in real life. So I'm not chasing my tail. So I'm going to use this scene. I know what it looks like because we've been working with it for the afternoon. And I'm going to go into, settings. Any camera's going to have these basic settings. This isn't specific to OBS. It's not specific to my software. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the white balance or the color temperature. And we're right at 5030, all right, or 5K, which is the neutral. So I'm going to turn it up, which would be like the camera is adjusted for outdoors, okay? Bright, sunny day. All right, what did you guys notice on the video? It turned a little bit reddish, didn't it? All right, that's because it's adjusting for a bluer scene. So it's trying to counteract the extra blue that it thinks it's in there. All right, now let's go the other way. Let's go to like a firelit scene or a scene that's like, where would it be? Maybe inside your living room at night, kind of warmly lit. All right, I haven't changed the lighting at all, but you can see now it looks blue. Okay, I'm gonna go back to normal. 5,000. That's what our neutral is, and then we're gonna adjust it down. 2,500. It's making it super blue because it thinks it's more tinted red. And if that's what you want, if you're using these clip lights, right, that we're using, and you want everything to look cool and cold like you're in outer space, check it out. Look how much cooler looking. I'm not just talking about how cool dudes we are. I'm talking about that it looks like we're icy, right? It looks like we're physically cold, or we took the warmth out of it. Okay, we took the flesh tones out. We look like we could be zombified, possibly even, right? So now we're going to add that back in. And then look, see, now we're definitely cool. We're alive. Our flesh looks good. All right, that's your white balance or color balance. It's just one adjustment, and most cameras have it. Even your camera phone probably has this, like I was talking about earlier. So mess around with that. Once you get it set, the important thing is turn off auto. You can't leave it on auto, because then the looks that you're going to create later, and for your show, if you're trying to go between blue to red, and you want the viewers to see it just like they're seeing in real life, and you have your camera set on auto, it's just adjusting the blue to red and the red to blue and messing everything up that you're trying to create. So you need to get away from auto settings when you're recording live performances. That's kind of the number one thing. Sorry, I failed to mention that earlier, but turn off the auto after you get it set. Or a good way, if you're confused of where to start, is to turn it on auto, set your scene to a neutral scene with the middle light, with a scene that's not like super blue or super red. Find your middle ground, and then shoot that scene, and then. Thank you. I'll turn the mic up a little. So, like I was saying, turn it on auto, and then just turn it all off auto. So once you have your regular scene in front of the camera, turn it off auto, and then it should stay in those settings, and then you'll be locked and loaded. Okay, so next one, we can look at brightness. I turn the brightness up, and what happens? It looks washed out. Yeah, and the shows aren't that way. We have lots of negative space because we want the beams to punctuate. Okay, so we turn that down to middle or less than middle. Same thing with contrast. If you want your lights to stand out more, then turn it up. And it looks that way. And then you turn it down, and it's going to wash out more, less contrast, okay? We're going to keep it in the middle. All right, gain, that's how much energy is going into your chip. You know, you turn that up and it looks bad, and you turn it down and it doesn't come through at all. You got to find the middle ground with these settings. Try to find the middle ground and things are going to look their best. Okay, focus, that's a big one. People turn off the focus and then you see this. Oh, that's exposure, my bad. You see this, if I grab the focus, oh yeah, oh, dark scene, and then, oh, yeah, blackout, and then, oh, lights are back up, and oh, where's the focus? You know, just set it, if you're using a webcam or any cam that's like small, just set it on infinity probably and leave it, unless you're really close and you're taking close-ups. But make sure it's, again, turned off the auto. I don't know where it is on your settings, but I'm sure you can find it and turn it off. Your low light compensation, you don't need that. You just need basic settings. And then, you know, let your message be communicated as clearly as possible that way. You don't need the camera doing magic tricks for you. Okay, so nothing crashed. Hooray. At this point, I think that we're going to get the fog machine cracked on and look at some at doing this stuff, because the other element is doing this to music. So, and that's the fun part. But you got to know the basics. Oh, okay, here we go. All righty. Okay, so as I was saying before, LED lights give you lots and lots of colors to work with. And most common mistake I see when people get new lighting systems, or when they make their own lighting system, or even when they get one light, is they turn on all the features all the time, and all the colors are coming out of the light all the time. There's a whole rainbow of colors. You don't have to use them all at the same time. It's like, in musical terms, think of it as if you played all the notes at the same time. If you strummed all the strings on the guitar all the time and it didn't change, you need to have somewhere to go. The lights need something to change into. So if you're using all of the lights, then you won't be able to have a new state to go into on the next, other than just a blackout or taking stuff away. And you want to keep it exciting. You need to have changes in your lighting throughout the show or performance, if nothing else, just to keep it interesting. That's the art of doing lighting. And it can be confusing to use too much at the same time. So again, keep it simple. Think of picking a couple colors and a couple that complement the other colors. You don't need a lot at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna go over to the light board, and we're gonna look at some of our favorite color combinations. And we'll just kind of talk through it. Thank you guys for hanging with us. Hope you guys are learning something new. Again, if you've got questions or comments, hit us up in the chat.
Epic fail. If you want to know who picked out these sick visuals, just know it was me.
All right, that's good. Okay. Well, match them to the visuals. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So little T does our visuals when we do our stage show. So he's going to pick out a visual, and I'm just going to kind of pick some colors that go along with it, and we'll talk about the different aspects of the lights and what they can do while we go. Oh, this is a cool one. This is a Beeple Crap. All these visuals, or at least most of them, are from Beeple Crap, and he releases his stuff for free, and he does the most awesome visuals. Okay, so I've got, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in these lights here. These are the our automated lights, and they move around, and they change color. We're controlling all these lights with a DMX controller. DMX is the standard lighting control protocol. All the controllers are going to have it, from the cheapest one to the most expensive one. The software that I'm using to control them is actually it's a free software. It's HOG for PC. All the lighting manufacturers release a free version of their software, much like DJ manufacturers, DJ equipment manufacturers. You'll get the free software. It's the hardware that you have to buy. So I've got just basically a USB controller that's got the input out that translates it from the computer to the DMX, which is the proprietary control signal that speaks to the lights that you buy or make. So that's the interface. You can get them inexpensive, or you can get them that are a little bit more expensive, or you can buy the full-on lighting console. But not having the equipment is not something that should stand in the way of you learning how to do this or doing it if it interests you, because the technology is there and it's free. And there's also a cool element that goes along with a lot of these, especially the newer softwares. There's one, Grandma. If you get that software and put it on your computer, it's got a visualizer built in. So you don't even need physical lights in order to make a light show to your favorite music, or to start playing around with 3-point lighting like we were doing earlier, to messing with the different intensities. You have a visualizer, you can put a model of a person and do all this for free with your computer. It's pretty amazing. So now we've got a blue thing that's kind of sort of going with the effect, and we can add in another layer, some green, because this video has a lot of purple and green in it. And now it kind of looks like it's going together. All right, cool. And we're not using a bunch of colors, you know. And when you're collaborating with someone visually, it's the same as collaborating musically. Whereas if Brian starts a song in a certain key, and then I'm trying to come in on my guitar, and I start somewhere else, it's not going to sound good. So Tyler, Little T picked out this video, so I'm not going to come in with something that's going to contrast it. You know, I want to complement what he's doing, and the same thing would be true as if I started with the lighting, then he would probably pick a video that complemented, that matched, that would complement what I'm doing. Okay, so we can try that. Like if I play lights that don't go with it, it's just, you can see that looks like garbage. At least I think it does. You know, it's fun, but it doesn't look near as cool as when things go together. So look at that. Now we've got something that goes together. I'll talk a little bit about the rig right now. What you're seeing, we've got these lights that are flashing green right now are lights that we make, and we just kind of give away the technology. You can make them yourself. It's just a 4-color, our red, blue, green, amber chip, and then we just put it in a housing, and then we buy a DMX node. So they're very inexpensive to make compared to these lights, which move around. They've got the exact same LED in them, the exact same one, but they've just got a different housing, and they're actually made by a company, a big company that makes lights for stages and for studios and for this type of thing specifically. You can see them moving around there. So you can see the different colors, and the blue, green, amber, and we got some red with a white strobe. But what I'm doing is I'm playing back cues right now. And this is stuff that I programmed earlier. How it starts, though, is a cue is an individual state of the lighting system. So right now I'm in a blackout, which is everything at 0. So now when I bring up a cue that I made, there's actually, this is a couple things are happening here. You can see that those are a couple cues that are stacked on top of each other that make them change from one thing to the next. So in lighting terminology, now you know fixtures are instruments. You take your instruments, and then you program them into a cue, or you set them into a cue. And then your show consists of cue to cue to cue. You might have a red cue, a blue cue, and this goes back to theater, when they were doing lighting for theater shows, and we've carried it over into the other industries. All right, so if I get all of these guys, and then we're going to look at the different colors. Okay, so look, we've got red, All right, these are all the same lights. They got 4 different colors: green, blue, amber. You might think, oh, that's pretty simple. But when you take the green and you do one thing with them, and then you add in another, all of a sudden you've got some kind of cool lighting music. You got a cool patterns. When you take one lighting state and you link it to another, just like when you're making a loop, we call that a chase. All right, so we have like let's see how many steps are in this chase. We've got where's the green one? That one's got 3. All right, and if I go through them step by step, we can see there's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's literally Q1, Q2, Q3. And then when we play the chase, we make it a chase. The cues go one after another. Loop, chase. Same thing for lighting as it is for audio. Okay, and the same thing can be true with the automated fixtures. You can make a chase with them, or you can have one state, one cue. And then lighting consoles and controllers, they kind of work like sequencers in a way. So you can choose one thing, and then you play it back on a channel, or you can make that channel do a chase or whatever. But when you're playing back the show, you have to program the console. It won't. You don't just do it live. You figure out what you want, what your color palette's going to be, where the lights are going to be focused. The other thing that we haven't talked about yet is focus. So focus, like we talked about earlier, is where the lights are pointed. So if I grab these lights, let me highlight them, turn them on, we can see they've got tilt. Tilt is up and down, just like a camera. You can see the lights tilting. Can everybody see that? Yeah, up, down. Okay, we've also got left and right. Or left, right. Okay? So we can focus these lights in different places. We can which makes it look good or bad. And this kind of comes from the days of rock and roll lighting, where they would have big arrays of basically car headlights that would punch through the fog in different patterns and colors. And then again, we've carried that over into electronic music. The thing that attracted me to doing lighting for electronic music eventually is just the energy that goes into it, and it's the most fun, in my opinion, to work with, because you can get a little more crazy with it. So we've talked about focus. We've talked about color. He's got a red visual up, so let's do something red. So so let's make a red cue that matches the visual that little T's got up here. We're gonna take the moving lights. We're gonna turn them on, and we're gonna put them in a cool location, cool focus, and then we want them to be red. How does that look? Still kind of washing it out. I'm not sure if I like the focus either. Let's try that one. But it's too bright though, right? It's too bright. So maybe if we only turn on 2 lights at a time. So no, hold on. Leave it there, T. You're doing great. I want to show people how to make a chase from scratch. All right, so I'm going to pick the top ones. We're going to go at full, and then we're going to record this as the first cue. Whoops. Let me go back to the other page. Okay. So that's our first step in our red chase. Okay, so next we're going to put those at 0, and then we're going to add in the second set. And that'll be our second step. And then those will go out. And then the next set will come on. That's our third step. All right, so now we have to make it a chase, and that depends. I'm not going to go into how to run the software because that's a whole nother YouTube video, and you might decide that you like grandma as opposed to hog. And I like hog, but most people like grandma, and there's a couple other options. There's probably more than a couple options of lighting control software out there. So find what suits you, and try to learn a couple different ones, before you settle on it. Okay, so we're gonna go is a chase, and now we're gonna play it back, and it goes automatically from one cue to the next. All right, so now we've got a cool red chase, and now that it's only one at a time, it's not blowing out the screen. It's not too bright.
Let me change the visual.
Okay. Little T's going to change the visual for us, and we'll look at doing something else that will match it.
Should I do the LA purpose?
No, do another one of the Beeple ones. Yeah, like Moon one. Moon one's good. Okay, cool. This is another Beeple crop visual. What's it called, Tyler? Moon Virus. All right, if you want to download this, Beeple crop Moon Virus. Really cool stuff. Okay, so we've probably got some stuff already programmed that we could use with this. Let's see. There we go. Look at that. So now I've got the lights strobing, and it kind of goes with the jittery video animation. And then let's find another blue. It's almost too much blue. So we could add in something that contrasts a little bit, just to give it a little pop. Sometimes you don't want it to be all just one color. That actually looks good. Sometimes they can kind of blow out the camera when you get all in one color and you don't have enough variation. I try to pick one or two, and then with the music, you can go between them. Okay, so at this point, we're going to talk about, now that we know what the lights are called, and we know what a lighting board basically is, and we know that there's cues and chases, and then that's what we're going to play back during our show, are the cues and the chases. We're not just like randomly plugging lights and doing stuff. We've got cues, we've got chases, and now we're going to actually listen to some music. Little T is also known as DJ Funk Pumpy, and he has an original track, and we're gonna we've already programmed some lights for him before because we do a lot of live streaming, but we're gonna show you guys kind of how we make it go with the music, and take it from there. So this is DJ Funk Puppy is gonna play a song right now. Okay, so we'll turn off the visuals for this and just focus on the lighting. Okay, so I've got a page already made for Funk Puppy. So we've got a green up and down chase going. That's kind of our base look. And then I've got some other stuff, little twinkles with the static lights. So like I said, you don't have to use more than a couple things. And you don't have to use everything at full intensity. Feel free to make it dark. One thing you see with, I would say with bad lighting is it can be too dark. It also can be too bright. You need negative space in order to differentiate one thing to the next thing. And you can have the best fog and the best lights in the world, but if they're all on at the same time, you're still not going to see any beams. So I'll try to hit some of these little accents. There's something fading in there, so maybe I'll add in some orange here when I hear that riff kind of playing with the vocals. think that green and orange is a good color for this song for some reason. They contrast. So we got a good thing going on now. You can sit like this, or you can make some subtle changes. Maybe you want to fade out that one set. Just let this roll through, and then cue up another look with them. See, now it dropped out. We're back in the drums. Okay, that was great. Yeah, play another song, and we'll look at some other things, and we'll kind of talk through about the lights are going. Okay, great. He's going to play something that's a little more high speed.
Okay, let's go. Tell him this is my latest song.
This is Funk Puppy's latest original track. It'll be available on all the streaming services next week. So I was a little early there. But if you bring a cue up too fast, just act like you meant to do it. Now I'm kind of running behind, so I'm going to just slam that in. So now we've got this green chase going on, and then we've got the moving lights kind of wiggling around behind it. Now I told you before that these lights have the same LED chip, but they don't have the same lens. So you got the exact same emitter, two different lenses. You can see these lights, the green ones, they're much wider. You know, they give a very wide beam that kind of lights up the fog, whereas the moving lights have this like pencil, narrow beam that shoots through the smoke. You can find lights with different beams at the hardware store. They might not be colored, but you know, that's one of the things to especially consider when you're designing lighting is the beam spread or the beam angle. That's how much spread there is. So you can see the beams a little bit more. A beam that doesn't spread hardly at all would be a laser. So there you can see we have lasers. See, they don't hardly spread out at all. That's like even more narrow than LEDs. And that can be another element. So this looks cool, right? We got some lights flying around. We'll add that back in. Now let's see if I turn on, like, I make too much happening now. I mean, it's a lot going on, but we don't have anywhere to go. It's too much. Yeah, it's not going with the music when we have too much going on. So you keep it simple, and then now look, I can go between this. You go between a couple of different lights. You're still using all the features, but you're just not using them all at the same time. So next time you're at your favorite concert, look for the lighting guy. You know, he's probably running the lights manually. Most people still do it that way. Now there's another way to do it, and that's to program your lights to go with the music. It's possible to use MIDI notes or time code to run your show in sync. Or to use your DJ rig to trigger your lighting board. It has to be set up a lot in advance, and so you lose the live element of it, but what you gain is the ability to do very, very detailed and intricate things with your rig that you might not be able to do on the fly, or you might not have the forethought or the amount of fingers that you need in order to play it back. See if there's any questions. If you guys have any questions, now's the time to ask. The lasers going, and we've got the green lights going. Now I can change these to purple. So with lighting, just like in music, you want to have somewhere to go. You want to be able to build. And it's just practice with knowing the music, just like any other thing in life. You gotta learning the software. It's really not rocket science. Lighting is a very, very easy thing to do, but it's very rewarding, very fun, and it adds a lot to your show. It's really a lot of times the difference between people sticking around and not is you can have music will keep people on the dance floor. But if you've got that whole environment, it'll keep them there all night. They won't want to leave. We say the analogy moth to a flame a lot in lighting. It's very true. You want to have a good environment. There's lighting can be very expensive, but it doesn't have to be. One of the coolest lighting rigs that we did, we only had like I think 4 lights that could change color, and then we had a bunch of blue Christmas lights behind. And the Christmas lights made this soft blue glow throughout the event that they looked like stars and you just wanted to be there. And we bought the Christmas lights when they're on sale. There's also a lot of secondhand equipment, but a lot of it's not in good shape. So you want to be careful about if you're getting into lighting. A lot of ways. The best way to get into lighting, in my experience, is to offer your services for free at a club or somewhere, because usually the lighting guy that's there is underpaid and overworked and would be very happy for someone to give them a break. And I'm doing this with 2 buttons right now. It's certainly not rocket science. If you have any background at all in music, you'll be able to pick it up just fine. Because a lot of lighting guys, let me tell you, we didn't have a background in music, and we learned that secondhand. So learn it. It's fun, and it's really rewarding to have something that you can control and create. That can be expressive. Another thing that I think is really cool about lighting is it's subjective. It's not an objective thing. Whereas like and it can be good and bad. Like when you're building something physically, like this a house or a little stage even. It matters that it's built right so it doesn't fall over. And there's a wrong way to do it. If you build it and it falls down, then that's the wrong way. Whereas lighting is if it was pink and someone thought it should have been blue, that might have been okay. So it's really about expressing yourself. It's about being creative and being expressive. You pick the colors that you like, but make it so it complements the music and the other things that are going on. But don't be afraid to add your piece. One of the lighting guys that taught me said, sometimes you just have to reach up and hit a button, and if you do that in time with the music, you're on. So when you're running lights to music, just like other stuff, follow the music. Pay attention to if you watch the DJing videos from earlier today, you know when the song is phrased and you know when the changes are supposed to happen, and so you can map that with your lighting as well. And like I said before, it's not rocket science. You're just anticipating the changes, and if you're working with a DJ or you're working with another musical artists, and you've rehearsed and you practice and you know. You can anticipate that even more. You know the music, and so you can flow with it even better. And your practice will make the performance even more valuable to you when it happens. And with technology, nowadays I've even seen guys doing entire light shows to their favorite songs. Without even having to rig at all. They're using the visualizer, like I was talking about earlier. If you want to know more about that, you can go to, if you just search for Hog or lighting control, Hog PC, or you search for Grand MA, like Grandma, Grand MA. Those are the two big ones. Avo Lights has a good one too, AVO LITES. They're a European company. And they've got a visualizer built into their software too, I believe. Just get on there, and there's lots of good YouTube videos about how to learn that software and how to make it do what you want it to do. If you have more questions, you can hit me up. I'm gonna throw out our social media. It's at RTG Show. You can go to rtgshow.com, and if you click on the live, that's where you can see our live streaming. We're constantly inviting guest DJs over here, and then during the quarantine, we actually had DJs submit mixes. Brian sent a couple mixes. Adam, DJ Spaceballs, sent a mix, and then we ran lights to a never heard before mix in real time and had a party in cyberspace. And it was cool. It was a way for us to continue to express ourselves and come together and keep in line with the rules and regulations at the time. So please go to we have a YouTube channel as well. It's Richard Tyler Green Live, I think it is, or RT Green Live or something. You can look at the links from the website. If you go to rtgshow.com, everything's on there, and we'd appreciate you following us on social media and keeping up with us. And if you want to learn more, hit me up on there, and I'll gladly do another class on a specific topic. I'd like to say a big thank you, huge thank you to Brian Chang, who personally heads up DMI and put all this together. Took the time out of many days to sit with us ahead of time and figure out how we would make this go as seamlessly and look professional as possible. He's a great dude, and he really loves music. Almost, if not more than I do, which is a lot. Also like to thank Make Music Day. I'd like to thank Little T, all the dads out there spending time with their sons. Good on ya. Whatever it is you're doing, just be there. And Little Tyler has a couple words, and then he's going to play his last track out of here, and we're going to jam out.
All right. The next, I'm not going to be talking about the next song I'm going to play because it's a surprise. And if we are going to do another class, that's not Make Music Day, especially for that thing. It's just a class. I'm gonna want to do some of my own classes too. I'm gonna want to talk to Dad about that and see if he'll let me do it, because it's gonna be all about the visuals, the music, and I'm gonna teach you when to drop the visuals, how to drop the visuals, and just learn.
Thank you, Little T, DJ Funk Puppy. Let's play us out of here.